Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, we're breaking down some of the biggest late season mule deer mistakes a lot of hunters make when the snow piles up, the days shrink, and bucks settle into some of their tightest patterns of the year. Late season isn't late October. Bucks aren't cruising. They're not curious, and they're not burning energy unless they have to. They're recovering from the rut and trying to survive winter. Their world shrinks, their movements tighten, and the margin for error gets razor thin. One careless stalk or rushed approach, and that buck disappears into the timber for days. Hunters often come in too hot. They hunt old sign, burn daylight hiking instead of glassing, rush stalks, glass the obvious instead of the micro pockets, and chase deer instead of anticipating them. Late season is a thinking man's game, patient, methodical, and built around timing. It's not about doing more necessarily, it's about doing less but doing it methodically. This episode breaks down where a lot of hunters go wrong and how to flip those mistakes into your advantage. Let's get into it. Mistake number one is moving too fast when bucks are moving less. A lot of hunters show up in December with a September mindset, moving fast, covering country, and constantly pushing. That works pre and during the rut, but when bucks are active, but late season, deer move only when weather, pressure, or necessity forces them. If you're hiking ridge after ridge and glassing for only a few minutes, you're blowing right past a lot of bucks that are bedded within a few hundred yards. A mature buck's world shrinks into a tiny bubble. He feeds, beds, stages, and feeds again without traveling too far. If your strategy is built on covering ground, you're hunting outside his bubble entirely. Slow down. Late season success goes to the hunter who commits to a slope, glasses for hours, and waits for subtle movement like ears or a head shift or getting up to rebed. Moving too much also ruins wind. December thermals are weak and inconsistent. Crossing ridges, benches, and pockets spreads your scent everywhere. A lot of hunters say there's no deer here when they unknowingly blew deer out long before they saw them. Late season glassing is about depth, not distance. Pick a slope, pick the pocket, and stick with it. Bucks will move, but on winter's schedule, not yours. The killer is the hunter who settles in and lets the buck make the first mistake. Mistake number two is hunting where deer were, not where they are. Late season mule deer shift constantly based on snow depth, feed availability, pressure, and weather. Hunters who sit on last week's sign are already behind. During the rut, bucks roam everywhere. Once it ends, they retreat into their safest core pockets. If you're still hunting where you saw a buck a week ago, you're wasting days. Snow depth moves deer more than anything. 6 inches overnight can empty a basin. Deer slide downhill or onto south faces where feed is still exposed. Pressure has the same effect. When hunters pound the obvious slopes, mature bucks slip into shade pockets, breaks, and mid-slope cover where fewer people look. Fresh sign matters more than quantity. One crisp track tells you more than a hillside full of old rut tracks. Fresh beds with melted snow or turned up dirt matter. Old stories don't. Migration also unfolds in pulses. Some deer hit winter range early, some late. Dates don't move deer, conditions do. Successful late season hunters don't hunt memories, they hunt current reality. They read the snow line, the shadow line, the feed, and the pressure. They chase fresh information, not old patterns. The rule here is pretty simple. If you're hunting where deer were, you're already too late. Mistake number three is misreading south-facing behavior. Hunters know south faces hold feed, but they misunderstand how bucks use them. Mature deer rarely stay in the open sun. They feed briefly, then slide into structure like timber fingers, brush pockets, benches, and shade lines just off the open slope. Hunters stare at the obvious feed while bucks bed 40 yards into cover. South face activity concentrates in narrow mid-elevation bands where feed and cover meet. Too many hunters glass too low or too high and miss the productive zone only by a few hundred yards. The real pattern is pretty simple. Feed to the edge, edge to the bed, bed to the shift with the shadows, and then get up and feed again. This all happens inside a tiny radius. Hunters miss it because they glass sunshine instead of the edges. The edges are the real habitat. I've got entire videos on it. The seam between cover and feed. Bucks use that seam because it gives them calories and security with minimal energy. Shadow progression matters too. As afternoon shade creeps uphill, bucks shift beds. If you follow the shadow line, you predict movement. If you don't, you get there late and see nothing. Thermals matter the same way. Falling air in the morning and rising thermals in the afternoon dictate bedding positions. Mature bucks only bed where wind protects them. To fix it, glass the edges, not the open feed. Prioritize mid-slope benches, track shadow changes, and read the thermal timing. South faces aren't open fields. They're edge ecosystems. When you read the edges, you find the bucks. Mistake number 4 is quitting too early during short days. Short days make hunters leave early just when bucks are about to move. Late season deer rely on shadow expansion to dictate where they feed. As the afternoon shade reaches the feed line, mature bucks rise long before official last light. A lot of hunters miss this entirely because they pack up early or they hike out before real evening. In December, evening begins much earlier. Low sun angles mean shade hits feed hours before sunset, and that's when bucks begin to stage. Thermals weaken, shadows grow, and bucks feel concealed. If you're not already glassing during this window, you miss some of the best movement of the day. Patience wins. If you've found a slope with bedding close to feed, commit to it. Stay put. Watch the shadow line climb. Those first few minutes of shade often trigger the first movement a mature buck makes all day. Hunters leave early because it's cold, they're uncomfortable, or they lose confidence. Mature bucks count on that, right? A simple late season rule. If you want to leave, stay another hour. That's when big bucks appear. Mistake number 5 is ignoring shade pockets and micro bedding. Mature bucks almost never bed in the obvious places. They use micro pockets like small shady cuts, timber fingers, rock seams, shadowed benches, and tight folds just off the feed. These pockets offer concealment, thermal advantage, and escape routes. They're tiny, sometimes only a few yards wide, which is why a lot of hunters overlook them. Hunters spend too much time glassing the open slope and not enough time dissecting the transition between sun and shade. That's where mature bucks live in December. These pockets let a buck move only a few yards to adjust for warmth, cover, or visibility, all without burning calories. You must glass slowly, repeatedly, and from multiple angles. Bucks in micro pockets reveal themselves only with tiny movements like an ear or a head turn or a bed shift. If you grid too fast, you're never going to see those. These pockets sit where terrain folds. Timber meets brush, rock meets sage, or a bench cuts a slope. They also sit where thermals stabilize. A buck chooses these microzones because his nose covers maximum terrain with minimal effort. When pressure hits, bucks don't necessarily move miles. They often dive into these pockets. That's why hunters think deer disappeared. They didn't. They just dropped into tighter cover. The fix here, also pretty simple. Spend most of your time glassing where you least want to. The dark, ugly, tight pockets, that's where those grown bucks live. Mistake number 6 is blowing thermals and wind on approach. Late season, bucks rely heavily on their nose. Their home ranges are small, their movements are predictable, and if your scent touches their bedding pocket even once, they're gone for days. Wind mistakes are unforgiving. Thermals may be weaker in December, but they switch later than hunters expect. Cold snow, low sun angles, and cloud cover delay the morning rise. Hunters climb too early, cross above bedding pockets, and blow scent right into them before ever seeing a deer. Afternoon thermals also switch unpredictably. Shade hits early, but thermals may not fall until long after. The dead zone, the lull, it's the most dangerous time to move. Air isn't rising or falling, it might be drifting. Many hunters push forward there and ruin the basin without ever knowing it. The fix is just slowing down and reading the micro wind. The tiny terrain features that redirect thermals, like finger ridges, rock spines, small cuts, and timber edges, all roll air in unpredictable ways. Bucks know those spots. They bed where wind always works in their favor. Contour approaches work best. Side hill so you don't climb above or drop below bedding pockets during unstable wind. Wait for thermals to fully switch direction before making your move. Once they fall consistently or rise consistently, you can plan a clean approach. If a buck sees you, you might recover. If he hears you, maybe. If he smells you, he's gone. Period. Mistake number 7 is overglassing the obvious and underglassing the nasty. Hunters love glassing bright, open slopes because they're easy to see, but mature bucks rarely bed there. They're tucked into the nasty, the dark timber fingers, the blown down pockets, the shadowed benches, the brush tangles, and mid-slope shade seams. Late season hunters glass the obvious, see only does and small bucks, then say the basin is empty. It's probably not. The mature deer are just out of view in the folds a lot of hunters don't want to pick apart. The mistake is glassing too fast and avoiding the hard stuff. Big bucks don't bed where hunters expect them. They bed where angles, shadows, and micro cover hide them all day. You must glass slow. You must grid the shade. You must move angles when pockets hide from one viewpoint. Mature bucks often live within 100 to 200 yards of open feed, not necessarily on it. They're just tucked far enough back to disappear. If you're spending 80% of your time glassing the easy slope, you're missing the deer entirely. Reverse it. Spend 80% of your time on the folds, the pockets, the dark stuff. That's where the big ones are. Mistake number 8 is pushing when they should be sitting. Late season mule deer reward patience. Hunters see a buck, panic about losing daylight, and rush the stalk, usually blowing the opportunity. A mature December buck is predictable. His feed bed loop is tight and energy efficient. If he's bedded comfortably, he's not going anywhere for hours. Rushing almost always backfires. Bucks have terrain cover, visibility, and wind advantages. Moving too soon means crossing unstable thermals, skylining yourself, or bumping unseen does. Late season deer move only when the mountain tells them to, with shadow expansion, dropping thermals, cloud cover, pressure changes. If you move early, you're working against nature's timing. So the best tactic here is to pin the buck, study him, and wait. The mountain will create a window. He'll stand to stretch, rebed, or stage towards the feed. That's your moment. Midday stalks fail most often because thermals are swirling, the sun is high, and bucks can see everything. If you wait, the buck will make the move for you. Patience kills deer. Rushing kills opportunity. When you spot a mature buck, slow down. Study his pocket. Predict his next move. Let timing work for you. Mistake number 9 is ignoring storm timing windows. Storm timing is everything. Bucks move most before and after storms, not during them. Hunters who don't understand these windows miss the best activity of the season. Before the storm is the prime movement window. Pressure drops, wind builds, and cloud cover thickens. Deer know what's coming. Mature bucks feed early and longer, often appearing hours before normal. This is when they reveal themselves. During the storm, movement shuts down. Bucks retreat to shelter like timber pockets, cuts, blowdown, thick brush. Hunting aggressively during the storm just bumps deer deeper into cover and ruins the post-storm window. After the storm is the second prime window. As skies clear, deer get up to feed fast. Fresh snow reveals tracks, beds, and travel routes. Hunters who sleep in miss peak daylight movement. The key isn't hunting storms, it's hunting the edges of the storms, the hours before they hit and the hours after they break. Track the forecasts, be in position early, stay ready when the storm ends. That's when mature bucks show. Mistake number 10, not planning intercept positions. Late season bucks don't travel far. Their feed bed loops are tight and predictable. Hunters who chase bucks reactively always fall behind. The solution is planning intercept positions, places where you can get ahead of the buck's next movement. Intercept hunting requires reading, shadow progression, thermal timing, bedding pockets, feed locations, contour routes, and escape corridors. These create movement funnels. Your goal isn't to chase the buck, it's to be where he's going. Shadow lines tell you when a buck will rise. Thermals tell you how he'll travel. Tracks in younger deer reveal the contour line he prefers. If you know his bubble, you can be sitting in the right spot long before he moves. Hunters fail when they trail bucks instead of anticipating them. They move too much, they fight the thermals, or they rush because they see antlers. Intercept hunters think like chess players. They make one move, the right move, and wait for the buck to come to them. Stop reacting, start anticipating. Get in front of the buck before he ever stands. Late season mule deer hunting punishes sloppy decisions. Hunters fail because they hunt like it's still October, moving too fast, glassing the obvious, ignoring wind timing, chasing deer, and relying on last week's sign. But winter simplifies everything. Bucks tighten their world. Their movements shrink. Their priorities narrow. Your job is to match that discipline. Slow down. Commit to the right pocket. Read shadow lines and thermals. Glass the edges, not the sunshine. Anticipate instead of react. If you avoid the common mistakes and hunt with patience, you immediately step into a level most hunters are never going to reach. And if you want to go deeper, pairing these tactics with year-round fitness, off-season preparation, year planning, and a community of relentless Western hunters, that's exactly why I built Team Backbone. It's the inner circle. Inside, you get 20% off site-wide, a monthly member-only t-shirt, full access to the digital content vault, a private Team Backbone community, direct call, text, and email access to me, and monthly gear giveaways. If you're ready to join the hunters who train harder, hunt smarter, and refuse to settle, Team Backbone is waiting for you at backboneunlimited.com underneath the membership tab. Thanks for being here. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.